welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening, November the 28th, 2018. Oh my goodness, November 28th. A hop, skip, and a jump to the holidays and then to a new year. Incredible. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we're noticing already some calories that have come on board. The stuffing was delicious and the rolls were terrific. The turkey was okay, but the side dishes is kind of what gets you. Candied sweet potatoes and string bean casserole, all the good stuff that you really need to just take a spoonful, but it's a holiday, so you want to enjoy yourself. And then we pay the price later. We can't fit into the clothes. I hope that's not your problem. Anyway, I hope that you all had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving with friends and family. And that this weather has not caused any problems. And please be careful of the black ice that is ice on the blacktop. Walk carefully, sideways, whatever way you can to protect yourself. And shovel or put salt down and be watchful, because snow is very heavy, and then once it becomes ice, it is doubly heavy. So just be careful and salt where you can. So hopefully we get a warmer day and it will melt a little bit. So, and we would like to introduce to you this evening a gentleman that we've not had the privilege of meeting before, Mitchell Siegel, and he's from Catholic Charities. And this is a first time for him to be on the program. And Mitchell takes care of the, the veterans employment for veterans and their families, something I didn't know. And so without any further ado, so you don't want to hear me talk, let's hear Mitchell talk. And I want to welcome you again.
Oh, thank you.
Your hands are still warm. This is wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Wonderful to have you. And you do such a wonderful job, even though I've never met you before. But veterans and their families, we've never heard of that. I mean, we didn't know that you did that, or that Catholic Charities even did it.
Right. And when I started this job almost 5 years ago, no one thinks of Catholic Charities as having veterans programs or employment programs. So a big part of my job originally, when I was finding out about the veteran community in Lake County and how I could address the employment issues, was also a branding effort on my part to really get the word out into the community of veterans organizations that Catholic Charities had resources for the veterans in employment, in housing. They also have a Veterans Independence Program for senior veterans to help them stay in their homes.
And you're a veteran yourself.
I am an Army veteran.
Army veteran, okay. And so how did this all come about? It wasn't there to begin with, or was it?
Well, Catholic Charities has been helping veterans. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary.
How nice.
And one of the first programs we had in 1917 or 1918 were helping the soldiers, the veterans coming back from World War I in Chicago, the Archdiocese of Chicago. That's the 100th anniversary of Catholic Charities here in Chicagoland. And we started helping them and we've continued to do that. And then several years ago, the Department of Labor had a program for homeless veterans, and in Chicago, and had hired a group of counselors to help the homeless veterans in Chicago, and then that evolved into the Lake County effort, which when we studied the demographics of the veteran community in Lake County, there are certainly homeless veterans here, but not as many as in Chicago.
I know, it's pathetic.
And so we expanded it to help the spouse and then, the immediate family members, because employment is a mental health issue for a lot of veterans and the public in general. I mean, if you don't have a job and money is an issue, you become depressed. Substance abuse sometimes happens. I mean, there are a lot of things that can happen.
They can fall on the sidelines.
Right, and they may be happening or not, but employment at least adds that financial stability. If there's a family involved, it helps keep the family together, and that's why they allowed me to expand my client base to include the family members.
Wow,
to make sure that employment help was available as needed.
Well, the employment is a real stability to keep the family together, because if the veteran has the job and then he has income, he's able to provide.
Correct.
And the wife doesn't become unnecessarily stressed because there is no money coming in, no way to buy food or whatever. The children have clothes, there's food on the table. So it's a stabilizer. The job is a stabilizer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in our world, because the military has become so diverse, it's no longer just the wife. It's the spouse.
Oh, yeah.
That's the term we use.
Spouse.
Gender
Okay.
neutral.
Okay. Well, okay. Whatever. Anybody's.
Yeah, because there are a lot of women serving.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And even though the percentage, it's less than 1% of the population that are in the volunteer army now.
Yeah, volunteer. This is a very important thing.
Yes.
Because you're not a conscribe, to
I was drafted.
the draft. They pulled your number out of the
They
bin?
pulled my number.
Really?
Yeah, I was a lottery
Lucky winner.
lucky winner.
Lucky
indeed.
winner. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but see, they don't have the draft anymore, so
No.
this is a volunteer.
It is, and it's wonderful to help, the group of service people from all the different branches, that come our way, and the James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center in North Chicago is a premier medical facility within the VA system, and we're just very fortunate to have that here, to help. And I do a lot of work with their vocational rehab unit and the homeless residential program that they have there.
That is, in this time of year, this really, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, where do they go? Where do the homeless veterans go? I've seen them under bridges. It's cold. They're either by themselves or with family members and children. Mitch, it really breaks your heart. These are men and women that have served our country to protect our country, and yet there's nowhere for them to find a home.
Through the Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, they have a homeless veterans residential program, and it's a 60-bed. They call it a domiciliary, which is like a dormitory, a 60-bed facility, and right on the campus there, where it's a totally intensive program where all the homeless veterans come in, and they go through the intake,
Yeah.
and they have to agree to go through the program and get whatever help,
Right.
mental health, physical health. I work with them on employment. With several colleagues, we've started an employment readiness workshop about a year ago with my colleagues that are employment counselors. One works for the VA, one works for a group called TLS Veterans.
But some of them have college degrees.
Some do.
And if they can't find employment in what they've been educated for, and in their profession, then what's the next step up? What do you do?
Well, it depends on what their issues were that caused them to become unemployed, and how their reentry into, I work with a lot of veterans in the 45 to 65 year range, age group, that just have been laid off, that I meet at job fairs or get referred through other veterans organizations. And, they're not homeless. They've, had a productive life, but now they're, middle-aged and out of work. And, it's, that can cause a lot of mental health problems if it goes on for a long time.
Well, the stress,
It's pretty stressful. So, I help them get reoriented, figure out how best to address applying for jobs in today's world, because everything is applying online. I mean, there is networking and knowing people and personal things that, everyone should do.
Yeah.
But, basically, you have to apply online for just about anything. And it's 100% impersonal.
How do we change that? I mean, going for a job, years ago, it used to be you come in and you go to the personnel department and you apply, get an application, apply for the job, you talk to them, they talk to you. It's a back and forth, you can see each other. And this way, it's very impersonal. It's just, somebody typing out something on the internet.
It's totally impersonal. It's
terrible.
It's so the real secret is, it's not secret, but the real strategy, I should say, is to create a resume that will get you noticed by
Interesting.
By the either hiring manager or human resources person, because they get hundreds of resumes for each job.
Oh, I can imagine.
And they have to sort through. So it's how you shape the narrative of your work experience to meet what the job description is that you're applying for. So once you figure out, and that's a lot of the work I do with my clients, is help them to understand that strategy. You look at a job description, you match up your skills, and you essentially tell them what they want to hear, within the parameters of what you've actually done.
And, what you can do that would be better.
Yes, exactly.
And so that would catch someone's eye.
Yeah.
And how do you get them transportation, which I hear always a problem. Transportation. And clothes to wear from point A to point B. How do you do that?
Well, I have been involved in this transportation issue because the public transportation in Lake County is not ideal to get people to work.
No.
Because a lot of the business parks in Waukegan and Highland Park and Lake Forest and Libertyville are not on bus lines.
Yeah, you need a car, really.
And if you don't have a car, but there are all of these, particularly for people, re-entering the workforce at an entry level, like people looking for warehouse jobs or assembly jobs.
Assembly line, yeah.
Which, there are always jobs available in those areas in this current economy.
Yeah.
But they can't get to them. So, I mean, I've been working with local transportation groups, and the city of Waukegan has a bike project where they get donated bikes, and they gave me about 90 bikes last year. And I had a couple of volunteers go through and it was actually, I just did a report recently, 68 we got running, and I gave them to veterans to get to work.
But it's wintertime, Mitch.
Well, there's, it's what's called the first mile and last mile. So what that means is they can ride the bike from wherever they live to a bus stop, which isn't that far typically.
Okay.
And then they put the bike on the bus, and then the bus takes them to the spot that's the closest to where they work.
Okay.
Then they just ride that last mile, so to speak, to get there. And they can, most people can do that most of the, not, there are some cold days that they just don't want to do it. But, I mean, it's a problem. The whole public transportation
Is this
is a problem.
doable by contacting maybe one of the taxi companies and in an area that
Yeah.
would be
There are some pilot
viable?
projects with Uber and Lyft and those, private companies.
I mean,
like
and,
that.
and because they are veterans, and we're looking at little to no financial help there to pay any big prices for transportation. So
Well, you can't pay $20 to go to a $10 an hour job.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, or a $12, whatever. So it's a problem with a lot of people, but I have some great partners in staffing agencies that, because a lot of the companies, even the ones that are looking for permanent employees, are using staffing agencies to onboard new employees. So they'll carry them for the first 90 days, and then if they work out and the company likes them, they'll hire them full time.
Okay.
So a couple of the agencies I work with send me their job openings every week, and they give me a list of these are on bus lines. Some of the vets have felonies on their records, so there are certain companies where depending on what it is, that's okay.
Yeah.
So they really help in identifying businesses where we can place the veterans, that have those barriers.
Well, everyone's entitled to a second chance, and if they've gone and served their country, and if there was something that came up or whatever, they need to have credit, applied to them, and second chance is always good in whatever.
Yeah,
endeavor.
and there are several companies, or
That's
out there
good.
that make an effort to do that. It's wonderful.
That is a good company. I mean, I wouldn't mind, suggesting who they are or whatever, but that would be a wonderful thing. And what about feeding the veterans and or their families? If like these, like for Thanksgiving, I know that the full moon up in is it Lake Bluff? Is it?
Yeah.
They're wonderful.
141.
Yeah, the guys are wonderful.
And Big Ed's Barbecue
Yes,
in
very
in
wonderful.
Lakehurst Shopping Center.
They open their doors and their arms, and they feed them free of charge to
They
come
do.
in, and that's really terrific. I mean, really terrific. So
It is.
I think you need to know that Big Ed's Barbecue and the full moon in Lake Bluff on 41. For the veterans, every Thanksgiving they open their door free of charge. Just show your DOD, whatever you have, and there is no charge for the Thanksgiving dinner, which is really a godsend. They feel
Certainly
that,
is. And Catholic
compassion,
Charities
compassion.
in our Waukegan location has a food pantry. And we have turkeys donated during the holiday season.
But you have to have a kitchen to cook it in if
You do?
you don't
Yes.
if you don't have a kitchen to cook your turkey in,
Yeah.
it's of no value. They need the meal at the time,
Yes.
not to start cooking it. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing because the ones that you reach, they need that too.
Exactly.
They need
and
that
it's not just veterans, it's for the entire
It's everyone,
community.
and
Yeah.
anyone who is in need. That's a very good
Exactly.
thing. But I've never heard this before. How long has this program been?
Well, it's only been in Lake County for a little over 5 years.
Yeah, you said you just you're here with this particular.
Yeah, it started about 8 or 9 years ago in Chicago, as I mentioned earlier,
okay.
working with the homeless
And then
veterans. And then about 5 years ago, it started in Lake County.
Oh, wow.
So it's fairly new.
Yeah, but you've come a long way
We have.
from this. I mean, because, well, first of all, I've never heard of you guys before, the Veteran Employment Program. Not.
Right.
I mean, Catholic Charities we've always heard of from the get-go for, children and whatever else, families with disillusionment, the
Yeah,
marriage.
they have 170 different programs.
So, well, that'll keep you busy. But this one is terrific, and
Thank you.
so, and the brochure you have here is of someone who is cooking. You have a cooking school, or you?
No, I mean that's one of the career
an
paths, but
employment.
we actually in the last year have been working with the Roberti Center in Waukegan. Opened up a culinary academy. I think it's a 6 or 9 week course, I forget. That is absolutely free for the community. But one of the chefs that teach in the program is an Air Force vet, so he contacted me, and we have some veterans that have gone through the program.
Oh, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd just like to read the mission statement here of the Catholic Charities, and
Sure.
it says Catholic Charities fulfills the Church's role in the mission of charity to anyone in need by providing compassionate, competent, and professional services that strengthen and support individuals, families, and communities based on the value and dignity of human life. That's really important.
It's
In
very
order
important.
to remain faithful to our mission, Catholic Charities is guided by these core values: respect, compassion, competence, and stewardship. That says it.
Sure does.
If you find someone that really is falling down and you've tried to help, where do you go and you can't seem to get them on target, or?
Well, we're very lucky, as I mentioned. Lovell Federal Health Care
Yes.
Center, we has a very good mental health department there, division. Catholic Charities in Waukegan has a behavioral health counseling service, plus the Lake County Health Department. Out in Grays Lake, one of my great community partners is the Lake County Veterans and Family Services Foundation that has a veterans drop-in center in Grays Lake and does wonderful things. They also have a clinical program and trained peer support counselors.
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And that really, I've noticed the trend has gone towards peer support counselors because veterans that have been through combat need to talk to people that have been there and done that.
One of their own.
One of their own.
Absolutely.
And so all of the peer support counselors there at the foundation in Grays Lake are combat veterans. And they've gone through the peer support training. And there's a clinical director, a Navy veteran, Dr. Mary Roberson, who supervises that team.
Because, sometimes, you want to help and you're professional in what you do, but you haven't the inkling of what they've gone through.
Right.
And they'd like to match with someone who has already experienced that situation and they can relate easily. Where you could sit, if you weren't a veteran and you were just a professional psychologist or whatever, sit and try to pull anything out of them little by little by little, but it's not going anywhere because they would say, you don't understand, you've not been there, you don't know what it's like to have mortar shells coming at you or whatever. So that, peer
support is
yes,
very important.
Wow, that's terrific.
And then I do the employment counseling at the foundation out there also.
That's so now that we've taken care of the veteran and the spouse, hopefully, whatever he or she may be, the children, what are your age grouping or what do you do for and with the children?
I don't really get involved with the children.
In case the
minor
parents,
children.
In case the parents are working, is there a daycare or is there, something for them?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Specifically. Typically that's something that they take care of on their own.
Okay.
But that's a very good point. Part of my program does not cover that part.
Okay.
I can get them gas cards, bus passes, work shoes, but through my grant funded program. But that has not come up before. That's a very good point, Bev.
Okay.
I'm going to put that. I'm going to bring that up at our next staff meeting.
Okay, that will be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking care of the, the adults. You've got the other.
Yeah,
the children,
when there are children involved.
Yeah, that's just true. When they're, or some are teenage, they're able to go to high school or whatever they have to do. But if there's some that are not and they need some assistance, if you found a employment job for the husband or the wife or whatever, but there seems to be problematic situation because there's no one to take care of the younger child, maybe kindergarten or second grade or whatever.
Yes.
How can they go to work if there's no one to watch the child? They would like to have, and everybody needs in this day and age a double income, so it would be.
And there are some, and I shouldn't say that it's never come up with me, but the times that it has come up, I've been able to steer the spouse that's staying at home on occasion to a work at home kind of job.
Oh.
If they're computer literate and have a computer in their house, there are several customer service type jobs where you can work remotely with companies and actually do different kinds of jobs
work
out
at
of the home.
Okay, work at home. Not that taking care of a baby isn't work, but this is income work.
That's what I'm referring
financial
to.
income work.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So, what is your largest? Or what is your area is Lake County, but the personnel that you handle or for employment. What is the largest amount? people that you would...
that I like my active client
Yeah,
base at
yeah.
any given moment.
any given moment.
Any given moment, it's 55 to 65
Oh, well, that's pretty
active
big.
clients. Yeah.
And you have to keep up with each one of them. Then.
I keep up with each one of them, and getting back to that strategy that I was talking about earlier of how to apply online and how to follow up, my whole relationship with my clients is to get them to do the work, of finding a job, to give them the tools, because, I can't apply for every job, and I can't, but I show them how to write a really effective resume, because, the only reason a resume exists is to get an interview.
That's what you need. That's what they need.
And so once they get into the habit of getting really good resumes sent out, then they start getting interviews, and I help them. I do mock interviews if they need that.
That's good.
Which helps them, and it, gets their confidence up before the real thing with the client. I have other resources that I can help them with. I have several volunteers that are retired executives that come and talk to the veterans if that's appropriate. One of the great things about working for Catholic Charities is they have a great volunteer network all over Chicagoland, but especially the community in Lake County is just wonderful. And they've reached out to me and offered their help
That's wonderful.
with the Veterans Program.
That's wonderful. The veterans, it seems kind of strange that, excuse me, that here they could be combat veterans and, face death at any moment, yet getting on a computer and typing a resume is frightening for them to be able to do.
Yes.
That's, this which is less harmful to themselves than really,
But it's
combat.
very intimidating, because depending on how long they've been in the military, they've led this structured life where they get told what to do, and
when to
they
do
are
it.
given
Yep.
a mission,
Yep.
and they're extremely good at, accomplishing the mission with whatever tools they have at hand.
Yeah.
But, figuring out how to get a resume worded in a way that attracts an employer is not that easy, and they think they have it, and then they send out, you go online and there's all these jobs to apply for, and they send out 30, 40 resumes in a week or a day or whatever it is, and they hear nothing back because the resumes aren't focused on the jobs they're applying for.
The employer, are they willing to take veterans? I mean, are they?
There's an incredible outreach from local employers. AbbVie and Abbott and Discover and Walgreens, right over I think in Deerfield.
Deerfield. That's,
Yeah, and several others
excuse me.
have veteran outreach people in their HR departments.
That's terrific because, a lot of these companies, I think they might feel that they don't want to become involved because it's a thing of involvement, but this would be a employee for their firm that would be important.
Yeah, and veterans have a great skill set and a sense of discipline and a sense, as I mentioned before, of finding out what the mission is and figuring out to accomplish it. And when you transfer that to a corporate setting or a civilian job setting of any kind, it's a valuable mindset to have. And also a lot of companies that have federal contracts have
this is
to
good.
hire a certain percentage
Of
of veterans
veterans,
and
yeah.
disabled, and
This is
you know,
true.
whatever those numbers are. So they do an active and outreach. In fact, there's a group called Roll Call Chicagoland.
Really?
That
And what do they do?
well, they're organized around a group of employers that meet. They meet in Lake County 1 month. The next month they meet in Schaumburg, and then the third month they meet in Chicago.
Oh,
And then, so every 3 months they're at all these different places, and they have it's a networking. It's not like a job fair, but they have employers and veterans all meet at a restaurant.
interesting.
Here in Lake County, we meet at Primo's over in Gurnee, and in the room downstairs, and there's a nice buffet dinner, and you just walk around to the different tables, and the employers are there, and you network. It's a networking event. And then you network for about an hour, hour and a half. Then they have a talk, usually a guest speaker, talking about some employment, how to get your LinkedIn account up and
that's
up
good.
and running,
Yeah.
and you know, whatever the topic is. And then a little more networking. So it's about 3 hours of being able to just get out and mingle with employers that are actually devoting the time of sending HR people to these events to meet people.
How are you
Excuse me.
finding the veterans getting back into the social atmosphere? I mean, you know, becoming socialized with others at their jobs.
Oh, you know, they're fine. I mean, you know, it depends on the veteran and what they're experiencing. I mean, I work with a very wide range of skill sets, from the barely employable to the multiple master's degree
Yeah.
and everything in between. And there are like 34,000 veterans in Lake County. Great Lakes Naval Base, the Federal Health Care Center. A lot of active duty people retired here or chose to live here because the economy's good. You know, in Lake County, you know, it's convenient to Chicago and Milwaukee. So southeastern
There's a
Wisconsin.
train station, just
Train
zip it.
station.
Yeah.
So it's a very convenient place to live, and it's got a very active veteran community here. So, you know, so it really depends. To answer your question about socialization, it really just depends on the person and what they're going through at any given time. I mean, you know, the homeless veterans population have their own set of issues that they need to deal with.
Sure.
And sometimes employment isn't at the top of the list.
No.
They got to, you know, make sure that whatever else
Whatever
are the problems,
emotional problem they're having is,
you know, are dealt
able to
with effectively.
stabilize them, sure.
Yeah. And then, you know, so I think it's, you know, kind of a normal cross-section of any demographic.
You know, it would be difficult to place someone who is, you know, at a higher level with a master's degree who's already been through combat and come back until they get their feet on the ground because they're overwhelmed with the sights, smells, and things that they've heard and seen while being overseas. So to calm down that kind of a situation, to get them back on track of who they really are and have progressed to their educational standard, that might be a little difficult. But if you kind of place them with others who are in that same situation. Maybe they could, it's like a buddy system,
Yeah.
call them on the phone. I'm having a problem with this. Hey, how did you handle it? Well, I'm doing it this way. Or
There are, for those that want to avail themselves, there are a lot of groups. The Lake County Veterans and Family Services Foundation that I mentioned, based in Grays Lake, they have a program called Cup of Joe. And I think they have one in Zion, Waukegan, and Lake Villa. Every week. It's a couple hours where veterans go and just have coffee and talk and form those kinds of relationships and support groups, that help them out when they need it.
they probably were, solitary people before, and now all of a sudden they've met somebody who they can talk shop with, and
Exactly.
that helps both of them.
Oh, absolutely.
One to the other.
Yep.
And one could probably pull in the other to a job position if that be the case.
That's
never can
part
tell.
of networking.
Yeah,
You can
never could
tell.
That would be terrific. What's the most, I'm not going to say amazing, but what's the most striking case that you might have handled that you were able to, provide what they needed because they couldn't receive the help or structure or whatever anywhere else?
Well, there are a couple that come to mind. I was working with this homeless veteran in the homeless, he was in the residential program, and was just struggling. He had a felony background. He was in his early 50s and just was having problems. But once he got focused and got the mental health stuff under control, and then once we started working together, and I got him his first job in a warehouse.
Okay.
Not his first job ever, but
Okay.
after this period
Yeah.
of not being employed for several years, he went into the warehouse, then he got some money, and then we have this homeless veterans housing program called Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, SSVF, with Catholic Charities case managers for the VA, and helped him get into housing. And, he came back and started volunteering for my program.
Oh,
Just
really?
helping me around the office and
that's
doing
incredible.
things. And he said, because he was working the second shift, and he was just so grateful,
Wow.
that he came back and wanted to help me a couple days a week in the office. Just whatever I asked him to do, he would do. So that was wonderful. And then a 20-year Navy veteran who had been a aircraft mechanic and then a drill sergeant or a drill instructor, I should say, was struggling. He was used to getting everything done. He was used to people listening to him.
Oh.
He was a drill instructor.
Okay.
People
A
did
DI,
what he
okay.
people did what he said.
Yep.
And then he got out and he said, well, I know how to write a resume. I'm going to do this. And it took me probably 3 months to get him to finally believe that you have to do things in a different way. Not the way you think, but in this way,
Yeah.
so that you can get noticed. And he ended up getting this IT job.
Wow, that's terrific.
yeah, making like $90,000 a year.
That's really terrific.
I mean, he had gotten his bachelor's
Sure.
and he had done all this thing while he was in the Navy, but he started a master's program in IT,
See?
and he's like on this road, and
Wow.
and he came and spoke to a Catholic Charities event and told the story of how he
It's almost like rags to riches.
exactly exactly, and he wasn't poor, destitute, or mentally ill or
no.
anything. He just was in a mindset that could not break away in order to be successful
Wow.
in a civilian scenario.
See?
And like I said, after about
That's
3 months of
terrific.
working together, he finally got it, and then then his resumes worked, and he got interviews, and
See, that's
he
terrific.
was successful.
Yeah, well, when you're used to doing things the military way, not everybody's military,
Most people aren't.
That's just true. So the whole idea is to help the veterans be able to get on track with,
Exactly.
civility, I mean, with the civilian population.
Mm-hmm.
And, those are two good stories. Those are really good. That's very good. And do they keep up with you, or do they contact you, or
Oh yeah.
they do?
Not all of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
there are several that I see around, that are still in the veteran community, doing whatever they're doing, and I get emails, and then
That's nice.
another part of my job is job retention. So I track people for at least a year.
Okay.
After they get hired, I shoot them an email, I give them a phone call. How's it going? How's the job going? And, just let them know that I'm there to help them out if they need it.
In case they need, if they have to fall back at any point, they.
Yeah, or, a lot of them, the job that they originally got was not the job
What they wanted.
what they wanted. And so in a lot of cases, we need to do like a 2-track job search. Okay, we need track 1 is let's get something
Get 'em
that
hired.
produces
Yeah.
immediate income.
Yeah.
And we get them into that. And then the other one is more of a career path. This is really what I
What do
want
you
to
want?
do. And so I start looking in those areas, and I do job searches and help them do job searches, and help them to network if I know someone, because the other half of my work life is meeting employers.
Oh, for sure. You can't have one without the other. Okay.
Yeah.
This rush to judgment, get them into something, whatever. But if they're not happy, how can
No.
they produce? This is
Right, but
problematic.
sometimes just income is the critical thing that they need at that moment. And whether they like the job or not, if I can get it for them,
The income.
and they can start making a few bucks
Yeah.
and get out of whatever situation they were in
Yeah.
because of financial distress, in the meantime, we're working together to move them along, and that's not the ultimate thing.
And,
So it depends. It varies from person
this
to
this
person.
2-track thing that you mentioned before, I think that's very wise, because you probably can see that they would do better at something that they are used to accomplishing as a profession, what they really want, and just to get them into something, as long as they have the finances to be able to get them motivated, which is good. That's always good motivation.
Yeah.
And then they can, at some point, get moving to a more of a secure for themselves job that they really like. Like you spoke about the Roberti Community House, so that they would teach cooking, baking, whatever, for the veterans, and that would be great, because maybe they, would have liked to have done that. They did some other job, but this is what they really have a creativity for, and that's what you're looking for,
Exactly.
and that they're happy. don't ever leave out happy. You have to be happy at what you do.
Exactly.
And people perform better if they're happy at the jobs that they do.
No question.
And when they're happy, it kind of sends out a shockwave to everybody else, and they're happy too.
Absolutely. And it just depends at what point I meet them in the shockwave.
What happiness? Yeah. What are they? Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes happiness is getting a paycheck, no matter what it's from, and that leads to future happiness in a job that they really love.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's how I developed that 2-track.
We've had a wonderful hour timeline here. You need to give the people a phone number, Mitch, where if they're watching, people are watching, they want to connect with you, and they say, gee, I think, I'm a veteran, I, would like to connect with someone, I'm not happy with what I'm doing, maybe he can help me. So if you've got a number you want to shout out there, that would be great.
Sure. It's 847-782-4219.
And where's that located?
That's located in my office is in Waukegan, and I'm there Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay. If they're having a problem with transportation, can you, can you be able to help them to come out to you, or get them some idea of how they could get out to you?
Yeah. There are ways I can help them figure it out.
And, okay.
Yeah. And employers that are interested in hiring veterans
For sure.
can also call me.
Oh, this is true. We forgot about the employer. Okay, what's that number again?
847-782-4219.
And you're located in Waukegan.
In Waukegan, yes.
Okay, right on Lewis Avenue.
Right on Lewis, near Belvedere.
Okay, so that's okay. Is there a bus that runs there?
There's a bus stop right in front.
Yeah, there's a bus. Okay, so employers, if you are watching this, contact Mitch. That would be wonderful. There's his number, 847-782-4219. And he's located in Waukegan. And if you are in need of any assistance in your jobs, in your organization, in your businesses, corporations, and you are looking for help, and you might be a veteran and you are looking to help other veterans, please give Mitch a call. And he's very easy to talk with, as you see. And, you can get a job situation going here. You could never tell. Something might be happening. It would be wonderful. And this is through Catholic Charities. And you don't ask for a portion of their wages to go back to, the...
Not at all. No,
Okay.
this is
This is
totally...
not like finding a job, when you have to pay them back 1 week's worth or whatever.
No, this is totally free for the veteran. It's totally free for the employer.
Oh,
we charge
okay.
nothing to anyone for anything.
You're just the intermediary.
I am the guy in the middle that makes it happen.
Okay. Okay.
That's
and you
it.
make it happen. That's
we
good.
make it happen. And, also, for those that don't know, Catholic Charities helps everyone. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to have a religion. You can be any religion, no religion. It doesn't matter. As you so kindly read the mission statement.
Oh, mission statement is outstanding.
Outstanding. We are here to serve those in need.
Respect, compassion, competence, and stewardship. Absolutely.
Yes.
And they base the value and dignity of human life. That's really remarkable. Human life cannot be replaced. It is not a machine. And we come with emotions, feelings, and humanity. That's terrific. Veterans Employment Program. This is the brochure that Mitch has brought to us, and we'd like to avail you of this service that he provides to employers and employees. And if you are in need or you know someone in need, please feel free to contact him. And he works miracles, as we have heard, and or he will do something to create a miracle to be able to help. So this is really remarkable. I'm so happy we connected.
So am I, Bev. Thank you so much.
And Mitch, I'm so happy that you decided to come on now instead of later, because this is the time everybody is in need. I mean, for one thing or another.
Well, the economic situation in Lake County and southeastern Wisconsin is incredible. There are jobs for anyone that wants to work. They are out there. There are employers that would love to get a reliable person, in a position at their company.
That's great. That's a good thing to know and to hear, and even better to do, because if you are offered a position that is a permanent position, only you can make it permanent.
Correct.
You have to show up for the job. You have to be there and do what you need to do, what you're hired for.
Yeah.
And computers or whatever. That's terrific.
Yeah. Any level job, employers in our area are looking for people that are reliable. That is the number one skill at this moment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, if you have, again, any questions on this program or hiring veterans, or you are a veteran, please feel free to contact Mitch. And that number is 847-782-4219. And we'll see what he can do to help you. He's working for a religious organization that handles miracles. and we'll create a miracle. What can I say? I'd like to thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to do a show 2, part 2 on this.
Okay.
So, make yourself available.
I will.
Thank you for allowing us in your home, your place of business. Have a pleasant evening and a safe week. And see you next time on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. Good evening.